Hey everybody, Graham here from therecordingrevolution.com. I am at the end of mixing month. I can't even believe it. We have gone through an entire 3-month span of spouting out some songwriting tips to help you write a record, a month of recording tips to record a record, and now a month of mixing tips to mix a record. And I actually finished my entire record today as this is being taped. So pretty much right on schedule, which is amazing considering it's been a crazy few months. Hope you've made some great music. Let's get right into the tip today. I call this the radio mix test. I've been doing this for years. I've also called it sweetening. So if you've watched my videos on sweetening, then this won't really be anything new to you. But so many people seem to misunderstand what I'm talking about with sweetening. And the point of sweetening is to think of your mix like being on the radio. Does it pass what I call the radio mix test? If it's been sweetened properly, it will pass the radio mix test. Think of this as another way to think about the same process. Here's the idea. This is for when you're at the stage that you're at the end of your mix and it already sounds good, hopefully. If it doesn't sound good, then just, finish it, move on, try another mix. This is how you get better. It's okay. We're all in that process of getting better. But if you're satisfied with the mix, you feel like it's pretty much getting there, and there's not much else you can do to the mix in terms of sonically getting it where you need it to be, and you've referenced other tracks. I talk about referencing. When it's really like you really could render this out and call it a day, don't do that until you've gone through this process and see if the song passes what I'm calling the radio mix test, which is simply this. If someone were listening to your song on the radio, would every section of the song be interesting and engaging enough that they wouldn't even really be tempted to grab that radio dial and switch to another radio station? So what I mean is this. Your song might start out great, good intro, good verse, good hook, good chorus. Doesn't matter what the genre is. By the time you get back around to another verse, which is very typical to have a second verse somewhere, does verse 2 sound just like verse 1, just with some different lyrics? If it does, unless it's like the most amazing song in the world, people are probably going to turn the station for something else. They've basically heard everything your song has to offer. And no offense to you, they just, we're ADD. We move on. We don't have short attention spans. So to keep the listener's attention, which is the whole goal of having a good mix, you want to make sure this thing passes the radio mix test. And how do you do that? You go through systematically to your mix. Hopefully it was arranged well, because you can start this process before you even press the record button. But I'm talking to you if you haven't started there. You're at the end of your mix. Go through and start systematically removing, muting or deleting, or adding or rearranging or adjusting the panning of certain pieces to keep the mix a little more interesting. It's usually very small moves that make a big difference. And I thought I'd show you another example. I've done this before. Here's one of the songs off my record. This is a very simple, potentially boring song if it weren't arranged well, and I hope it's arranged well, and if I didn't even go through some of this radio mix test on the mix. The very beginning of the song, it originally started out with 2 guitars.
I wanna be my own man.
One on the left, one up the middle. But you know what? In the chorus, nothing really changes. So I went ahead and just muted that first guitar on the left. So it's just one guitar, one vocal to start.
I wanna be my own man. No one can.
Keeps it mono, keeps it simple. The listener's okay with that. They haven't heard anything else. They think, okay, it's just a guy and his guitar. That makes the chorus, the first chorus, that much more engaging when I finally introduce the acoustic guitar on the left, and I already have an electric guitar on the right as well.
So I'll wait for freedom to bring.
So we've gone from one guitar, one vocal.
Destiny. No one controls my life. No one.
Now we're a little bit open.
So I'll wait.
So I saved a texture. That's basically what I did is I muted this, which sounded fine. I just saved it to make this chorus a little more engaging. By arrangement standards, this next verse is already more interesting because drums and bass come in.
I thought freedom would satisfy. For bad.
Nothing I can really do there. It already works. already verse 2 is more interesting than verse 1. But here's where I got lost, is the chorus was originally like this. It is more interesting. An organ comes in, tambourine comes in, and then in the part of the lyrics, for freedom to bring, there's a harmony, there's a double. So it is a little more engaging, but it never quite popped for me. It always felt like underwhelming. Once I really had already recorded it, mixed it, and had a better perspective. And so one thing I did was I went ahead and muted half of the tambourine, because halfway through the chorus it picks up a little bit. So I saved the tambourine for a little bit later. It's one trick you can always do, is save something for a little bit later. And then went and stole one of my own guitar parts from here, this guitar here on the right. It's from chorus 1. I stole that and copied it over to another guitar track, panned on the left. Okay? Because guitar 1 in this chorus is doing this. Playing the chords, but now I can copy the sort of the upward strum on the left. That interesting texture, right? And that makes the pop into this chorus a little more engaging, because before it was like this. Underwhelming. Bring this in and it's a little bit better. Really subtle here. This isn't earth-shattering, but you're starting to see what keeps a mix engaging on the radio is little teeny elements that keep the song moving. Right? It's halfway through this chorus. I already had another guitar part that comes in here. But you can't. And that's where I started to let the tambourine come in. If I hadn't muted the tambourine halfway through, then this tambourine wouldn't be a nice energy bringing texture halfway through that chorus, because it was getting a little too boring, a little too repetitive. Not worth cutting the whole chorus for, but just strategically sweetening as I needed to, so it passes the radio mix test. All right. Then, similar stuff here. I took out a tambourine part during this kind of break section, but really everything else was built into the arrangement towards the end. I think it's engaging and interesting enough. I saved some stuff. One little thing I did do here, though, is there's a really cool break going to the very final part of the song. And let's see. This is what it sounded like normally. Not bad, but what I decided to do is clean up that acoustic strum and then get rid of the bass here for a second, because I really want there to be that break. This is diggy-da-boom, love. I want those few moments to really be a break, and I had played the bass all the way through, and I really shouldn't have, so I just muted it for that part. This is love. Versus having the bass in there. Get rid of it, and it's a little bit more impact. This is Sorry about the crazy delay. But yeah, that's the idea, man. That is what so many mixers fail to see, how powerful this process is. It takes maybe 20 minutes of your time at the end of a mix to go through and think about every moment of every song. Does it feel like something's lacking? And if it is, sometimes I literally will pull out a virtual instrument Even if it's a song for a client that it's not my music, I'll pull out an organ or I'll pull out a pad or something. It's like it needs something here, even a small texture or a layer, or I'll grab my tambourine. It needs something to be different for a hot second to keep the ADD, zero attention span listeners of the world these days, keep them interested, because there's a million other songs out there for them to listen to. There's a million other things for them to be doing with their time. And a song that's just the same thing, verse, chorus, without a very engaging, interesting moment-to-moment arrangement, is just not going to hold their attention no matter how cool of a song it is. So you can help your mixes out. This isn't really a sonic thing as much as this is an artistic thing, and it's so small and so subtle, but go listen to great tracks and you kind of pick up on how every single moment continues to offer you something new. And that takes a lot of planning, and that starts in the arrangement and it starts on recording day. But if you can't go back and re-record everything, do some of these things: muting, adding, moving around. I'll move panning sometimes, things that are panned up the middle, I'll pan them out in the chorus. Something to keep the listener's ear tickled and engaged and intrigued, so they'll stick with you to the very end. And that way they get the awesomeness of your songs. Hopefully it is a good song, hopefully it's a great mix, but it can't be boring from start to finish. It has to be engaging from start to finish. That is how you get your songs to pass the radio mix test, and it's a critical final step before you print and release it to the world. Best of luck with your records as you're finishing up. I know many of you actually have done EPs and are following along. And hey, if this isn't when you're originally watching this and you're just checking this out for the first time, go back and watch some of the recording, songwriting, mixing month stuff and have fun with it. Just challenge yourself. Release something in 3 months if you don't have anything written. That's what I did. Had no songs written, made myself do it. It's fun. It's all about making music, having fun. No more excuses. Thanks for supporting the revolution. If you like the video, subscribe. If you want more tips and training, download the ebook. It's absolutely free. It will totally change the way you work in the studio. Link is right there in the video. And there's way more content there on the site as well for you. Absolutely free, week in and week out. And I got some good stuff coming. The EP drops next week. I'm really excited to share that with you, some bonus video content for all of you home studio fans. Stay tuned. Have a great week. Take care.